Browns Classic.
Hey, whatever it is. Hey, that's what this game's about.
The Cleveland Browns are America's team. And it's all over! The Browns are winners today!
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another draft episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Casey. Below Mr. Nick Carnes. We're brought to you, as always, by our friends at Homage Apparel. So please support the official release in the description down below. Go check it out. Get all your Browns gear as we barrel through the offseason. The first day of offseason workouts is a couple of weeks away. The draft is 28 days away. It's less than 30. It's less than 30 days away for the draft. So go check that out. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
Dude, first I want to thank everyone who voted and got us to this episode and chose linebacker for the discussion, because I didn't see that coming. I got to be honest. I didn't think linebacker would win, but people want to hear about linebacker. Well, I mean, look, dude, this also forced me to go back in the lab and reevaluate the linebackers again, which I had just done a few weeks ago. But now that I did, I think it's changed my process a little bit, getting a second look at these guys. So happy to do it.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like normally the sexy positions win. And I was definitely surprised. Like, it's really cool that, now we have a Barking Browns Twitter. So if you haven't followed us yet there, you can find that at Barking Browns 24. And we just put out the vote after the episode of which position you all thought was the greatest need. And we had a ton of votes there, had a bunch of responses. So we're definitely going to, as we move forward here with the Barking Browns, we're definitely going to do a lot of listener directed content. So this is the first of that, and it certainly will not be the last.
Subscribe to the channel, follow us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up on this. If you're listening to us on the audio-only version, thank you for being on the audio-only version. If you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/barkingbrowns. Allows us to pay for all the subscription services and data and film and everything we use to bring you great content. So $5 a month, some exclusive giveaways, some exclusive content coming for that as well. So patreon.com/barkingbrowns. If you want to do that, we're talking linebackers. It's not a particularly deep class. It's not a particularly sexy class. It's headlined by a 24-year-old player that has some terrifying injury history and some really good athletes. So it's a very intriguing class. I was doing some more rewatches on some guys and kind of making some more notes and writing down some data points and some things like that last night going into, preparation, knowing we were recording this today. And I kind of came to the conclusion that, I don't know if you should force a linebacker pick because you think that you need one, because I'm not sure this is a class for that. But there are some really intriguing guys that have a lot of physical tools that you could develop. And so I think I came out on this class higher than I expected. I don't think it's a deep class, but some of the guys at the top have some traits that I think that are worth betting on. It's kind of where I'm at on this class.
Well, it's funny how we got here, because coming into the draft cycle, I wasn't thinking linebacker at all, especially early. I figured you might snag someone late if it happened. But then the way Andrew Berry attacked free agency and a certain trade changed my mentality to all of a sudden they're not really drafting for need.
Nope.
And if you're looking down the line at a spot that you might need to get another dude, linebackers near the top of that list. They've taken a shot on Bush. You go get an older guy in Hicks, but if you could go get a running mate for JOK for the future, this might be a draft to do it if you have that luxury. Yep. So then I opened up my thought process to the top of the class, because I didn't think we were shopping there. And then that's when linebacker came into my orbit. Until then, I hadn't done any linebacker work. Then free agency and the draft happened, and now we're here. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about the top of the class, because if we're talking about the bottom, this wouldn't be an awesome conversation.
Yeah, I did some 6th and 7th round work, and then I was like, Oh, they actually could. Like, I think there is a good shot at their top pick could be linebacker. It really could. And at the beginning of this cycle, I would have told you I don't think they value linebacker, and I still don't know that they overvalue linebacker that much. But I also think they're going to take the best available player. That's where I think they are. That's where I'm at.
Yep.
It's like I think they legitimately are like, oh, the best athlete is Edrin Cooper, or the best athlete's Junior Colson, or or Peyton. I don't think they'll take Peyton Wilson because of his age, but shit, they might because he's a really good football player. Nick, what do you think about the class in general?
I just think the Browns are in a position where you hear all kinds of talk like, 4 quarterbacks might go in the first 4 picks, and obviously the wide receivers are the highlight that everybody's salivating over, and there's a bunch of linemen as well, and so
when pushing guys down,
yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, right? Is that in general it seems that the linebacker isn't as highly valued as maybe it was at one point. And so if you're the Browns and you're saying, okay, what talent is going to fall to us? Linebacker makes a ton of sense. I feel like that could be I feel like Andrew Berry did enough to address the position to where it's not like a team is going to look at the Browns and say, okay, we need to go up above them because they're going to draft this linebacker, right? And so you're in a spot where you can be flexible and you can adapt to what's happening around you. And so there's a bunch of these guys here that I'm looking at and I'm saying, okay, there are some elite athletic traits in this class. And we know how the Browns prioritize that when they traded up for JOK. So getting at that guy, and like, I get it. You took a shot on Devin Bush and you got somebody that's going to be reliable in Hicks, but I feel like you need somebody that is going to be a young, long-term, cheap answer next to JOK, because I'm expecting Jeremiah to get paid, right? And so the guy that's next to him has got to be on the cheaper side. And so drafting somebody that could fill that role makes a ton of sense.
I have one too coming up, and I think we're both going to give, or all three of us are going to give, I think 3 names is kind of where we're at, but we'll probably go a little deeper than that depending on how much crossover there is. And my third name, I'll get to it in a second, but there was a couple of people that surprised me a little bit, that rewatching them, like really diving exclusively into their film, I was like, oh, I like this guy a lot more than I thought I did. So when you really take a second look at this linebacker class, there's not a superstar in my mind, not a superstar ready. Players could become that because, as you said, Nick and Casey, you've alluded to this, and I've talked about it before. There's some really athletic players that if you develop some of those more technical sides of the game, you can really, and work on their play recognition and things like that, get them in that right spot to where they see and know how to use what they've been given. It could really take it to that level. But there's a couple, one guy in particular, my third guy, is going to be interesting. I think he's probably a day 3 guy, but I think he's really interesting. So I think we start. At the top, and it's probably appropriate to go. We're 8 minutes in. We haven't talked about an actual player yet. All right. It's like, hey, it's a linebacker class. All right. So top of the board, he's the thumbnail. Casey, kick us off. Talk about Edrin Cooper.
So, like, I have to have I'm like a horny watch when I watch Edrin Cooper. I try not to get blown away. This kid's splash plays are ridiculous, but this is the same kind of thought process that'll get you looking after like Isaiah Simmons. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to separate what traits are going to be useful at the next level. 6'2", just under 230, 4'5", 140. All the measurables are there. Everything matches what you see on the tape.
Yeah.
But this is a player that, as Jacob alluded, he's not ready to be the guy right now. But if you're for a piece of clay, you go get Edrin Cooper and you can kind of like dip his toe in the water by putting him in on like blitz packages, because this kid just ridiculous gets after it. Everything's downhill with him.
Yeah.
And he has great instincts. You might even need to dial his instincts back because someone might get him to take the cheese at the next level. But he was able to get away with it in college. That happens a lot. But when you're just looking at weaponizable linebackers, I think he's the top. He's the guy that, if you can get him in the right type of scheme and the right type of supporting cast and kind of unleash him and let him do some crazy shit, because he's capable of it. And in 22, he showed a lot more coverage ability. This last year, they didn't ask him to cover shit. I mean, he was coming downhill. He's aggressive. I mean, I think we had like 18 tackles for loss, 26 pressures, 8 sacks. Like, for an off-ball linebacker, those are ridiculous numbers. So he's very explosive. And based on the way the Browns linebacker room is now with JOK and Hicks and Bush, and you got some younger guys that like Fields is still a good depth guy.
Yeah.
You don't have to put a lot on the kid's plate right away, but you could just start to kind of inch him in. But he has that type of athletic ability. The range is ridiculous. Everything you look for in a modern linebacker is present in Edgerrin Cooper.
One thing to me too, as a rookie, I think he could be a fantastic special teamer because of that athleticism and speed.
And he played special teams.
Yeah.
He played, and that's the other thing, dude. That dude played special teams. That's a different kind of guy,
Yeah, it's really interesting when star defensive players still play special teams in college. It kind of tells you kind of about the mental makeup and the I don't know another way to put it, but the give a fuck factor. I think like he gives it like okay, you want me to do this, and 10-4, boss, I got you. And like it seems to be the kind of player and person you're getting with Edgerrin Cooper. Good.
Well, I just think the ceiling's not defined yet. We're talking about a player. I mean, he's long. His 6'2" doesn't sound long, but the kid's got 34-inch arms. You know what I mean? Like edge rusher type of frame. And I think there's room for him to grow physically still. 22 years old.
A little over 22,
Yeah. So I think, he's that 230, you might be looking at someone whose eventual playing weight is closer to 240.
Yeah. He took such a massive step in 2023 in terms of his overall playmaking. Like, he's gotten better each year. I think in college, it's just huge for me when you've got a guy that didn't play a ton. His first in 2021 didn't play a ton, but he then takes a step forward in 2022, becomes a bigger, he becomes a starter. He goes from 340 snaps to over 600, then gets another 600 snaps this year. And he just took a massive step forward. It was like first year just kind of was doing whatever he was, gets on the field as a starter. Then he looks comfortable in 2023. It's the coverage stuff that's going to keep him out of being like a day one pick, a first rounder stuff. He's got there's a lot of meat left on the bone. There's a lot to be desired from him when it comes to being a coverage guy. I think he needs to learn to trust his instincts a little bit, because he can run with anybody. Like, if you're talking, pursuit speed, athleticism, trigger, recognition, when that stuff clicks in his head, it's no problem. It's almost funny. You kind of said it, you almost want to like take pressure off of him as a rookie and just say, do one thing. We're just going to put you in there and blitz you, or you're going to go up the middle to stop the QB sneak, whatever it is, and then just kind of bring him along. But I think, at 22 years old, 2-year starter, has played a good amount of special teams and done a lot of things. He's got all the stuff I can't teach him. Now, if you can go teach him the stuff that he doesn't know, then you put all of that together. I think Edgerrin Cooper can be an all-pro linebacker. I think he has the tools to be an all-pro linebacker down the road.
And I think the Browns are in such a different situation than they have been previously, because with Owusu-Koramoah and Hicks, you've got two guys that are proven, that are steadfast, that you can rely on, foundational pieces. So when you're talking about bringing in a guy that's developmental, I mean, who better to learn from than right? Because we all expect Jeremiah to get extended, and we saw how well he played last year. And Hicks has Super Bowl experience on his resume, and has just been a consistently good player, productive player everywhere he's been. So it's like you say to yourself, is this a place where we could draft a guy that needs some time to develop? And it makes too much sense to me. I'm in.
All right, I'm gonna steal the limelight, Nick, because I want to go next.
Okay.
So suck it.
I'm in.
We're gonna talk about my favorite linebacker, Although I still think Edgerrin Cooper's better than him, but it is what it is.
There's a chance Edgerrin's not on the board at 54.
Yeah, and that's part of it. I really like Junior Colson from Michigan, man. Like, some people, you want to talk about a guy that's really taken leaps. You look at, because he's really been a 3-year starter for the most part.
Yeah.
500 snaps in 21, 722, 660 this year. When you look at the PFF overall grades, I think it tells you the story of who he was to who he is. He had a 48.5 overall in 2021 and an 81.7 this year after a 75 last year. So you see a guy that, from PFF's metrics and stuff, they were like, yep, this is a guy that improved. I think he's a better athlete on tape than a lot of other people for some reason. I don't know. Some people are like, I don't think he's a good, not great athlete. I think he's a really good athlete.
Yeah.
I think he's really rangy. He goes sideline to sideline really well. I think he's a really good coverage linebacker too. And I think you don't get a lot of linebackers that are great in coverage anymore. I mean, you look at what San Francisco's got going over there, and it's because they can play both ways. Both of those guys, I don't know. Do you think San Fran's got the two best linebackers in football, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't think. I think they'd both be there. But it's because both of those guys can do both things. And I think Junior Colson can do that. He's got a quick trigger, a 4.7% missed tackle rate. That's really what pops out to me. With a guy that had 68 solo tackles and 34 assists, he only missed 5 tackles. That's massive to me because you're talking about a guy that was in on over 100 tackles. He missed 5. He attempted 100 and what is it? 68 and 34 is what? 102. So he attempted 107 tackles essentially, and he got 102 of them. At least got a piece of them on 102 of them. And I think that's what you really need with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is a guy that can kind of run with him, but can clean up when JOK is over aggressive. Talked about that with Edgerrin Cooper. That's kind of some things that I have issues with JOK at times. Junior Colson can keep up with him and clean it up. We've talked about this. The three of us have talked about this, where sometimes JOK makes a play just because he may have overran it, but the running back had to hesitate. And then it creates an opening for the defensive line or the other linebackers to come in. Colson can be right behind him and be that guy to me. I just think he's got a high football IQ. He came from one of the best defenses the last 2 years at Michigan, was a leader on that team, has the intangibles, has really good, a good athletic profile. For me, the dream is Junior Colson because I feel more confident that he'll be there over Edgerrin Cooper. So if you're going to go linebacker out the gate, I think the most likely guy is Colson, not because he's the best player, but I do think he's a really good prospect. And Jason Tarver developed JOK, and that's exactly what he can do with a guy like Junior Colson and have a really nice pair at linebacker.
I just want to build off what you said because that Junior Colson was one of my picks as well. You're talking about a guy that played QB spy and has experience doing so. And obviously Lamar is in the division and that's a big deal. But now you're looking at obviously Justin Fields isn't going to start day one. The Steelers have made that pretty clear, but all of a sudden you're in a division with two of the most prolific running quarterbacks in football. And so anytime you've got a linebacker that has experience playing quarterback spy and having to worry about that, I think that's a plus. We talked for so long, especially when the Browns had paired Jacob Phillips and JOK and said, okay, these guys are elite athletes. They've got the sideline to sideline speed. We've gotten faster on defense. We can cover them. And obviously with Jacob Phillips, things didn't work out so well, but I feel like another good opportunity to pair two linebackers that can deal with the quarterback challenges in your division makes sense between JOK and Junior Colson. So for all the reasons you said, plus that factor as well.
That's a really great point. It's a great point.
Yeah. I just think it makes a ton of sense. And if if the idea is that there's going to be a couple linebackers taken ahead of you, maybe Junior Colson is that guy that you say, okay, he still provides a lot of the traits that we're looking for and has a higher likelihood to be there. Makes a ton of sense to me.
I'm going to pile on now. This is where the draft makes no sense. I am higher on Edgerrin Cooper than I am Junior Colson. Junior Colson is more ready to play right now. Yeah. He's a guy that could take on a bigger responsibility right now. He might not have the ceiling that you might be able to attain with Cooper, but I think his floor is higher because there's a boom element to Cooper.
Yeah.
If he can't apply that exact skill set that he has, but Colson's more of a complete linebacker. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense. But that's where we're at. Silly season. Junior Colson he's one, and I would say I haven't done the math, but I would be willing to bet he's one of the younger linebacker prospects in this draft.
Yeah, he's just a shade over 21 right now.
See? So and everyone else we're going to talk about is 22 or older.
So I think
this is something the Browns would probably be into just based on that alone.
I think he'll turn 22 late in the season, like very late. So he'll play almost his entire rookie season at 21, and he's incredibly pro ready. That tells you the mental makeup of who Junior Colson is.
I think on the other side of the linebacker prospects, I have Cedric Gray, who missed 57 tackles in college, which obviously is not good. I understand that. Now, on the other side, he's 6'1 and a half, 234 pounds, is also an explosive, rangy athlete, also has experience playing quarterback spy, is a guy that, like you described already, Jacob, like JOK, it has some over pursuit type traits, but sometimes that can be a good thing if you're an elite athlete. That over pursuing isn't a good thing, but you can make up for it if you're an elite athlete. And so that's what I'm really looking for out of a lot of these linebackers. And in terms of Cedric Gray, you're talking about a guy that had a strength in pass coverage. I have the stats here. I had the stats here. I lost them. He had a ton of pass breakups and interceptions to his name that I'm sorry, I just frankly lost them. And
I'll get it. Keep talking. I'll find it.
That's fair. But a guy that's good in coverage. And we see more than ever, linebackers are being asked to cover more. We've seen that be very highly valued in traits that the Browns look for. And so when you're talking about Cedric Gray, I get there is some something left to be desired when you're talking about 57 missed tackles. He had 5 interceptions and 8 pass breakups, which especially
13. He had 13 passes defensed and 5 interceptions.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
5 fumble recoveries too.
That from a linebacker perspective, that's a dude that, to me, that has a nose for the ball. The Browns had a really weird turnover story because I feel like early in the year they were not very good at forcing turnovers, and then all of a sudden they came in bunches. But I'm also always on the hunt for a linebacker that can help be a part of those turnovers created, and Cedric Gray is a linebacker that has that. So you look at a guy and you say, okay, this is an elite athlete. This is a guy who's good in coverage. This is a guy who can help force turnovers and has a nose for the ball. I understand the missed tackles point. Maybe he falls a little bit more and you can get him a little bit later. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that if I'm looking at a prospect and I'm saying, okay, one of the biggest knocks here is missed tackles, that feels like something that is a lot easier to improve upon than athleticism, than size, that kind of thing. I feel like you disagree, Jacob. I'm ready.
No. And the thing is, I understand the missed tackle percentage, but in 3 years, he had 368 tackles.
That's it.
Like I get it. The dude misses tackles, but he only misses like 14%. Like, you got to put that into context. Yeah, the dude missed tackles. Yeah, but like his 3 years as a starter, he had 99, 145, and 121 tackles. And it's like 198 solo tackles, 170 assisted tackles, like 29 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, 5 interceptions, 5 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries. You worry about some of the intangible stuff. He's a day 3 guy. But if you're in the day 3, like this dude plays really good coverage and he cleans up well. And he can play special teams. So if you're looking day 3, I think Cedric Gray is as good of a day 3 prospect at the position that you're going to find.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone steals him at the end of day 2. I think
right around 100.
I think that the Browns, he comes on your radar at 85, and you hope that he's there on day 3.
Yeah.
The physicality is what stuck out with him. Yeah. Just my guy's physical, man. He finishes. When you're involved in that many tackles, you're going to have some misses. He didn't have the horses in front of him either. It wasn't like he had clear paths. He's able to work well through trash. You know, and coming to Cleveland, there's not going to be as much trash now. We saw that last year, and the jump JOK was able to make because of that. Because he wasn't always getting caught up in the debris. Guards weren't always climbing in his face, getting in his lap, and he was able to use that playmaking ability. But Gray's a guy that I'd be very interested in, man. It just depends on I look at this in ranges. I have 3 linebackers, and I'm not even really interested in one, even though I think he's probably has the best skills at 54. And then you drop down, you know what I mean? And I have Gray near the top of that. For that next tier,
that kind of second tier, that kind of like third wave of guys.
Yeah. And he's a leader too, man. That's the other thing. When you watch the tape, he's the rally. He's the guy everyone's focused on that side of the ball. I'm gonna go Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky.
Okay. I was wondering if you were gonna bring that because I wasn't gonna bring him up, but I was like, we're gonna have to talk about this. Yep.
Well, he's in that tier with me. He's in that tier with Gray in my mind. Him and Gray are kind of like the co-leaders of that tier, the way I see it. And physical, man, 240 plus pounds, crazy athlete. In high school, the kid did everything. Like he set records for the long jump. Kid, you know what I mean? Like this, just a freak athlete, can do everything. Been in Kentucky. People don't be paying attention when you're at Kentucky playing football. But Trevin Wallace is a physical specimen, and we see it in every position. We always talk about like wide receivers. The group needs to be built like a basketball team. You need a big, you need a small, you need a possession guy. You know what I mean. Linebacker is starting to have that flavor too, where you need a guy who can be the hammer. You already got JOK, and he's like your ace of all trades. He can use the speed element. His ability to take away running lanes, his ability to force things back inside. Wallace, he's a cleaner. He cleans stuff up. He's a thumper. And there's one more on my list that has that, but this is an athlete. This kid has the range to do the other stuff. Now you're going to have to teach him the other stuff, but we're talking about just straight making tackles, going downhill. Trevin Wallace is my guy.
So my guy that I liked more than I expected was Tommy Eichenberg from Ohio State.
That was the guy I just referenced. Yeah.
Is that who you were talking about?
Thumper. That's the difference. They're both thumpers. Wallace has better range.
Yeah.
Eichenberg, old school smash mouth linebacker. Like Chris Philman sees that dude and smiles, I promise.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my thing. Old school is the word that comes to mind instantly when you watch Eichenberg. The thing that bothered me this year was that he regressed. He regressed massively. If he played like he played in 2022, this year in 2023, he's an early day 2 prospect.
I was about to say he's a day 2 discussion. Yeah. I agree.
So talk about his year at Ohio State in 2022 for comparison. In 2022, he had 120 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, an interception that he returned for a touchdown, and 3 pass breakups. That was the 2022 for Eichenberg. This year, 82 tackles, 2.5 for a loss, 1 sack. I thought that he kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit this year at Ohio State. Like it was almost like he was an afterthought. It was like he had left. it felt like he had left. You're like, where's Eichenberg? And he would flash here and there. Only 8 missed tackles. He had an missed tackle rate of 8.7%. I can live with that. His average depth of run tackle was 3.6 yards. I can live with that. He was okay in coverage at times. I think he's a decent pass rusher, but he's not an exceptional athlete. So he's not going to be able to do those exceptional athlete stuff. But my God, will he bring the pain? Like, if you are looking for a thumper, he's as good as any thumper in this class in my mind. And Eichenberg, like I said, old school. That's what you're getting with Tommy Eichenberg. But the Browns could use some old school in that room. I think you've got the athletes. You've got Devin Bush, if you can figure out how to get him to tap into what he has, because he has a lot. You've got JOK. We know all about what's going on there. Jordan Hicks. I want somebody, I said this with kind of a Junior Colson about him being cleanup work. That's on Eichenberg's specialty, man. Like, when Eichenberg he sees what's going on and he gets downhill and he zeroes in on you, he's not going to miss you. He's not. And he's going to bring the physicality. And if you don't protect that ball, he'll take it from you. So you're looking day 3. He's probably around pick 100. So you may have to trade back, or you might, reach for him or something, or get a 4th round pick, whatever it is. But I think Tommy Eichenberg may go higher than some people are saying. And after watching his tape, bring him home. I almost try to avoid evaluating Ohio State players. Just because I'm always told I'm a homer and things like that. And it's like, dude, I will shit on Ohio State players if I need to. I will shit all over Tommy Togiai. I did it for years.
Well,
so like, I'll do it if I need to. But Eichenberg, it was funny because watching him this year, I was very, very frustrated as a Buckeye fan. But then isolating him and watching his tape, it wasn't as bad as some people said it was.
I have one prospect left that I know Jacob is going to push back against the least. But I'll start with this. You're missing Sione Takitaki. You're missing we're talking about thumpers, and I feel like we shifted from the great athletes to the thumpers, right? And you still need somebody that is going to stop the run. And so I have a couple stats for you. Here's a career at Clemson. We're talking about 202 tackles, 29 and a half
you need
tackles
to say his name.
for losses. Okay. Well, I was going.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's Jeremiah Trotter from Clemson. But here's his career at Clemson. So 202 tackles, 29 and a half tackles for loss, 13 sacks, 13 pass breakups, 3 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, including 2 returned for touchdowns. So I understand. I get it. Jeremiah Trotter, maybe not the linebacker that you're looking for in coverage, right? He did show that he could be effective in zone coverage, not so much in man. But when you're talking about a guy that is going to help you in the run game, that is going to be physical, that is a legacy player, I feel like it depends what the Browns are looking for. But if you want a guy that, again, has helped force turnovers, that has been a tackle for loss machine, that type of player, aggressive, I think that fits with the Jim Schwartz mentality. I'm in on Jeremiah Trotter because I understand he's not going to be that guy. He's probably not going to be that guy that is going to be able to cover guys in man like a lot of the modern linebackers do. But I think we saw with the value of Sione Takitaki that having a guy that is physical, that is going to help you stop the run, that is going to be a reliable tackler. I feel like Jeremiah Trotter is a guy that could add value to the Browns linebacker room.
This is where I'm at with Jeremiah Trotter. If he's there at 85, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm not going to, but I don't think anybody who is high on Jeremiah Trotter thinks he's a 3rd round pick. I think a lot of people think he's a 2nd. And I think that's too rich for my blood. Agreed. Because maybe 6 times out of 10, I think he's just a guy. Like, to me, he's just a guy. I think his name gets him more recognition than his play probably does. But he's not a bad player. He's not a bad player. I just think he's going to get overdrafted. He lacks length, size, explosiveness. It's not really where I want it to be as a starter.
Mhm.
But could he be a rotational Sam? Yeah. He understands how to defend the run. And I think he does a really good job when he recognizes. I think he's got a quick trigger, which is a big thing for me in run defense. I just think you got to adjust expectations. I do not think he has elite traits. I think he's a good athlete. He's not a bad athlete, but he lacks, in my mind, anything elite to be a star or a starter. But is he a rotational piece that you could really have some fun with? Kind of like Sione Taki. Yeah, I can see it. I can see that. But that's where it ends for me personally. That's where I'm at on Jeremiah Trotter.
This is a prospect that tested my process.
Yeah.
When I went through it the first time, I wasn't that high on him. So we go to do this exercise again. I do the same thing. I look at some different film, and I start wondering, am I being fair? Because what if his name was Jonathan Trotter? Would I see this different?
Maybe.
But then it dawns on me, the reason I'm not that high on him is because when I'm watching him play, he's not even the best linebacker on his unit.
Yeah.
I'm watching Barrett Carter, and I'm like, that's the guy. The other guy's the guy. Well, that other guy, if he was in this draft, would be in the second round conversation. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah.
So maybe I'm just not being fair to Jeremiah Trotter. The dude's a 2-time second-team All-American. Like, he's productive. He gets shit done, and it would be role specific. But when we're talking about third-round linebacker, I think that's the deal. There's not going to be too many guys who put them on the field, never take them off the field. That's rough. That's linebacker is weird too, because it's the most physically demanding position in the NFL. You got to be able to do everything. Mentally it's not a quarterback, whatever, but like you have to be able to handle every facet of football playing linebacker, and so to ask a guy you got to be an A at everything. It's unrealistic. When you get that far down in the draft.
I'm telling you what, Jake Bates for the USFL Panthers just slaughtered a 64-yard field goal to win the game. That thing was good from 70.
Jake Bates.
Jake Bates, yeah.
I owe him an apology. I was not familiar with his game.
Neither was I. Pat McAfee made sure I was.
There we go.
I think in summary with linebackers, I'm either looking for somebody that is going to be good in coverage or somebody that's going to be ideally you have it all, right? But if you have to pick,
there's not many that have it all right now.
Yeah. So if you're not going to be good in coverage, at least give me consistent tackling and some kind of turnover or tackle for loss, that kind of thing. And I feel like Jeremiah Trotter at least offers you some in that department. There's something to be excited about. Like, yeah, if you call his name in the second round, I'm going to be like,
but if you call his name in the second round and Colston's on the board, if Cooper's on the board, now I'm pissed.
No.
You know what I mean? But
if some of the other guys are gone and you don't want to risk losing him, I understand that. But yeah, if Colson's there and you go Jeremiah Trotter, I'm done. No, I'm not. I'm just saying it.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you are new to us, because recently we've had a couple videos that you all have decided to watch en masse. Thank you, by the way. We are going to be live for some hot Browns draft action. We're going to talk about all the picks as they happen. We're going to break it down. It's going to be quite the event, and so we would love it if you would join us. We had a lot of fun doing it last year, and now we are plus Casey. That this triangle is as good as you can imagine, and we will have all things Browns drafts ready for you. So, with that being said, this has been a very special fan listener voted.
Sorry. Tell us who your favorite linebacker is in the comments below. Tell us your guy and plead your case, because I love that. I love when people are like, this is my guy, and you pound the table. I pounded the table for Alex Wright 2 years ago. Pound the table for who you want.
This is my promise to you. As soon as Jacob gives me the YouTube login info, if you leave a comment under this video, I promise you will get a response. I will check it. It will be there. So if you give us your time, I will give you mine. Simple as that. So with that being said, this has been a special fan-driven Linebacker Browns draft episode of the Barking Brown Show. Nick, he's Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns.
To infinity and beyond.